Are the kids all right? It sure doesn't seem like it. On college campuses across the country, from my own Columbia to Texas to UCLA, students have pitched tent encampments. They've occupied buildings. They've clashed with local police while protesting Israel's military campaign in Gaza. More specifically, they're demanding change from their own institutions. The calls to campus leadership have run the gamut, but the central cry is divestment from Israel. Whether that means divesting from Israeli donors or Israeli businesses or other Israeli ties depends on the campus and the protester. But thousands of students have been willing to risk suspension, expulsion, or arrest to make their demands heard. College protests have long reflected the conscience of America, years before the rest of us old folks got with the picture. In fact, the last time we saw such fervor on campus quads was during Columbia's 1968 protests, when students first took over Hamilton Hall to protest U.S. involvement in Vietnam and plans to build a segregated gym near campus. Then, too, a central demand was divestment, though at that time it was from the U.S. defense industry or anything tied to Vietnam. So in that sense, the kids today, they're just following in the footsteps of their boomer parents or grandparents, if they were fast about it. But have the protests been effective? In some ways, yes. Students at Brown and Northwestern, for example, have managed to work out deals with their administrators, and a few other schools are heading in that direction. Campus demonstrations are spreading around the world as the global youth make their discontent with the Gaza war clear. But not everyone on campus is okay with these protests. A lot are unhappy about another canceled commencement day. That's 4 years after COVID stole the class of 2020's high school graduation. And while some Jewish students have joined the protests, many others have felt ostracized and threatened by them. And then there is the bigger question. Can these students actually change U.S. policy towards Israel? President Biden gave his answer to that question at the very end of a recent White House press conference.
Mr. President, have the protests forced you to reconsider any of the policies with regard to the region?
No.
Biden's response, while blunt, was hardly surprising, nor was the roughly $15 billion in U.S. military funding for Israel that Congress recently passed, part of a larger foreign aid package. Campus protests were never going to stop that funding from going through. On the other hand, the oldest president in American history needs that Gen Z vote to win re-election in November. And if these student protests continue into the summer and the fall, they could spell Biden's political downfall. In that sense, students have a lot of leverage, and they know it.